Normally I wouldn't make a video like this, but Surf, our game in Counter-Strike 2, is currently experiencing a game-breaking bug. While you are surfing at random, you will suddenly stop, or even pop off the ramp. These ramp bugs, as they're called, have existed for years in previous engines, but this time is different, with ramp bugs happening much more often, and a guarantee on basically any map with a curve, which turns out to be the vast majority of maps. However, this is not a Valve bad video, and understandably we're not the main focus of CS2, this is. Instead, this video is a way for us to get our problem on paper and show you what it's like for modded CS2, a game within a game, run entirely by its community, and an explanation for why we need Valve's help. Here's a quick timeline so you're up to speed. Back in March of last year, the limited test launched, and almost immediately crazy people like Kangaroo were able to port over surf maps using Half-Life Alyx before most of us even had access. A YouTuber named Jiru even ported Surf Kitsune, very nice, but Surf also had these so-called ramp bugs, lots of them, usually at the edges of ramps, understandable for an unreleased game. And then, one day, they were gone. The ramp bugs stopped happening. So it seemed like Surf, a relatively small but dedicated community in Counter-Strike, could have a slow but pretty seamless transition into the new game. And with it a few tools for map creators, also called mappers. And plus we had the new Hammer 2 editor that was technically easier and way more versatile than the original. But then, less than a month ago, Valve suddenly released the CS2 Workshop. This came ahead of a lot of other game modes and features, like Danger Zone and Arms Race, and I'd like to think Valve gave us a head start knowing we have to make our own content. But we quickly realized something was wrong. The ramp bugs were back, and tons of players were reporting it, creating content about it. You might even have heard about these through Mr. Maxim's video. It became clear that we have a problem. So if you tried surfing at all, you've experienced a ramp bug. You'd be extraordinarily lucky if you haven't. This refers to your player model clipping into these big triangles we ride called ramps, and sometimes it's because the ramps were poorly made. But in CS2, the frequency of ramp bugs has become much higher, and they're unfortunately happening on our most popular maps, Utopia being the worst offender, even within the first few ramps and despite multiple attempts to fix it. And ramp bugs are incredibly unsatisfying for a game that's supposed to be satisfying and relaxing. And ramp bugs are seemingly random, beyond your control, and by their nature feel unfair. It reminds me of what Gaben said during the Half-Life documentary. He called it a narcissistic injury.
I go play games to have fun. And so we had to come up with some notion of what fun was. The degrees to which the game recognizes and responded to the player's choices and actions. If I go up to a wall and shoot it, to me it feels like the wall is ignoring me. I'm getting a narcissistic injury when the world is ignoring me.
Surf ramps violently shooting you off without reason feels like what he's talking about. The game simply rejects your choice. Now, to be fair, some maps are absolutely fine, and it really has to do with the ramps themselves. Simple, straight ramps like on Surf Beginner produce virtually no ramp bugs. Kitsune is another good example and feels very similar to previous engines. But as soon as a ramp has any curvature, it starts to bug, especially on long curves where you're supposed to strafe away from the ramp holding the opposite key. And having no curved ramps isn't a solution. All the maps near and dear to us like Summer, Whiteout, and Tendies will probably have ramp bugs when and if they're ported. Well, I wanted to know how bad the problem actually was, so I played every map in the pool for 10 minutes and counted the number of ramp bugs. Very scientific, I know, and here's what I found. The worst offenders were Utopia, Mesa Revo, Rookie, and this new map Traztec. Basically what people were reporting. Maps with lots of curves, but also some bugs on the straightaways. And here's the maps with the least bugs. These maps simply have less curves and other problematic structures. However, the issue is that ramp bugs don't just affect Surf, they affect all the other game modes with ramps in them, like Bunny Hop and KZ that also have surf ramps. Even Zombie Escape, a completely different game mode, has surf ramps that are glitched, which is really bad because they eventually cause the entire team to die. Even future mainstage CS2 maps like the Red Bull Arenas could be affected by ramp bugs. And all this makes mapping and porting for CS2 really difficult. Mappers, and now porters, people turning CSGO maps into CS2 maps, are the lifeblood of our community, and with the current glitch, mappers have to keep recompiling, re-rendering their maps over and over trying to fix ramp bugs. It can take anywhere from 30 minutes to several hours for each attempt, and having no curved ramps in any surf map is very restrictive for new mappers. This, for example, is a new map called Galaxy that was made entirely of straight ramps. So hopefully you can see what our problem is. As someone who is preparing content for CS2, like a lot of other people, I was really caught with my pants down. Our game was working in CS2, but even I couldn't deny that things felt really bad, even though they were made well. But we do know for a fact that CS2's physics is the problem, and not the maps themselves, which some of you may be thinking, and here's why. Now, you may have seen that patch note recently that referred to sliding on geometry, and many of us, me and Mr. Maxim included, thought this was a fix for Surf. But we quickly found out it wasn't. It was for something else. It was probably talking about regular CS2 maps and sliding around on bomb sites. So a lot of people arrived at the conclusion that the maps themselves were the problem, since there was a fix for ramp bugs. This is a huge surf ramp curve in Source 2. However, you might notice it's not CS2, it's Half-Life Alyx, and the surf works perfectly fine. We had known for a long time that surf worked well in Half-Life Alyx. Here's Surf Beginner in their engine. And this is the exact same curve in CS2, and it is filled with ramp bugs. Now, credit where credit's due, Valve has actually helped us a lot already, especially community servers as a whole. Zombie Escape, a huge community, had a glitch in their HP bar. One team, the Zombies, have 10,000 HP, which was cut off. Obviously, you aren't meant to have that much health. And then, a few patches ago, they fixed it, full HP bar. We were also one of the first communities to receive support at all in the form of the workshop, before Danger Zone, Arms Race, and a ton of other core features in the game. And when Valve isn't here yet and there are features we want to improve, they let us. We created a replacement server browser called CS2 Browser, reducing the amount of fake servers and organizing them by their type, link below. But the reason why we need Valve to fix the problem in the current state is because of lag, or ping. Ramp bugs used to be fixed by servers through several plugins. If you were a CSGO player, you're no alien to ramp bugs, they were frequent. So we implemented a plugin called Ramp Fix, or MomSurf Fix. While surfing, you would ramp bug on your side, the server would detect that and then apply the fix. The problem is that CS2 has way more ramp bugs, and because that fix is applied to server side, it's gonna lag every time it calculates. And on maps filled with curves and probably ramp bugs, your gameplay is gonna look something like this. Surf and other game modes really need this to be fixed client side, which opens its own can of worms. Is this something that Valve can even fix without affecting normal gameplay for everybody else? Is it possible for Valve to add a command for servers to change physics like a rollback? We also still don't know what scripting language CS2 will use, making a server-side fix even harder. Here is the conclusion of all of this. Right now, most ported maps will be ones without many curves, tons of classic maps, and most of the pool has at least some. If it's hard to think of a map without curves, it's not your fault. This puts a huge bottleneck on our game and its servers, but not a complete wall. We're thankful to Valve for what we have, and eventually we might have to fix this as a community. But ultimately, we need Valve's help. But if you are a mapper, coder, or would otherwise like to get involved with CS2 Surf, please join the open source Discord down below where you can find resources and get started. Check out the most recent video on CS2 Surf news, or this video YouTube thinks you'll like. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and good luck sliding those triangles.